Houston, we have a problem.
The world is searching for the truth. Who are the biblical Israelites? From mysterious comets to whispers of ancient sacrifices, history unfolds amidst chaos. In 700 BC, the Lachish relief immortalized the tribe of Judah, capturing essence in high-definition detail. For centuries, Israel's identity has been hidden, but now the truth can finally be unveiled. Click the link below to get it today. Do you want a short booklet to send to your family and friends to prove you're not crazy? Well, this is it. The undeniable, unforgettable, ancient pictures of Judah for all to see. So, pick up your copy of Who Are the Biblical Israelites today from Amazon and share the truth, one booklet at a time.
Indianapolis, Area 31 has traffic 2 o'clock, slightly above.
Can you say aircraft type?
Negative, Center. No distinct outline. Tell you the truth, the target is rather brilliant. Wait a second. He's heading right for my windshield. The traffic is approaching head-on. Ultra bright and really moving. And right by us, right now. That was really close.
31, do you wish to file a report of any kind of it?
I wouldn't know what kind of report to file, Center.
This is nuts.
7. 6.
Can't be, that's inside the room.
It's reading right, man, look.
Well, you're not reading it right.
5 meters, man. 4. What the hell? Oh my God. Oh,
Give me the light.
Good afternoon, alien enthusiasts. In spite of what some of you may be thinking right now, I have not sunk to extreme clickbaity titles, not in the least with this particular topic. As shocked as I was to learn this news, it is based on scientific data. Be rest assured, I'm going to prove that to you in this video, but let's go ahead and continue with the topic. One of the biggest challenges that we've had with 3i Atlas is the fact that it's still so far away that even with our best telescopes, such as the Hubble, we can only get a vague idea as to what this object looks like because we only get a resolution of a few arc seconds on the entire object, both whatever the halo is that surrounds it and its nucleus. And with so little information, it's very difficult to determine exactly what it might be, in spite of the fact that astronomers seem 100% convinced that it's a comet, and woe betide anybody who says anything different. That being the case, though, there is one thing that has been very strange about 3i Atlas, something that was recognized right from the start. How can it possibly be so bright? The latest observed magnitude as of right now for 3i Atlas is 16.4 at a distance of about 400 million kilometers from Earth. That is not terribly bright. There are certainly other comets that have been brighter, but only gigantic comets. If we're talking about comets that are relatively small, the sorts of comets that we would expect to encounter with interstellar objects, this is anomalous. This is strangely bright. And once again, astronomers have struggled to explain why this is. But now we have a possible explanation. The 3i Atlas might be generating its own light, artificial light, and amazingly, it's backed up by the data. Really did not expect to be doing another video about 3i Atlas this soon, but this is breaking news in a big way. Really, I should have released a video about this yesterday. So let's go ahead and proceed to this particular topic. 3i Atlas, again, in the news in a big way. Most astronomers are absolutely enraged that Avi Loeb is bringing up the unconventional, sort of exotic possibilities for this object to explain why it is the way it is. And the latest one, well, that is the most dramatic of all. And once again, as I said at the beginning of this video, this is not some sort of clickbaity thing saying that we detected lights on Proxima B and all of these other ridiculous headlines that we've seen on YouTube in the past. This is something that is actually backed up by observational data. And that is something to do with the brightness of this object. That is what has always been so confusing about 3I Atlas. How is it as bright as it is? As I have mentioned in previous videos, we're talking about an object that's at least 200 times brighter than the interstellar comet 2I Borisov was at the same distance. As a matter of fact, we didn't even know 2I Borisov was there when it was that far away, because it was just much dimmer. So of course the theories have varied far and wide. Avi Loeb talks about it being a much bigger object. Astronomers just say that it's a much smaller object that's producing an enormous amount of dust. Dust, of course, being the catch-all explanation for everything we don't understand in the universe when it comes to alien megastructures, all sorts of things that we see in the cosmos. Dust is the explanation that astronomers love to present, and if you don't agree with the dust explanation, then you're a nut job and you don't deserve to have your papers published. But in any event, all of that having been said, even that explanation doesn't make any sense, because how is an object like 3I Atlas producing this much dust without any detectable outgassing? Because the spectrographic analyses that have been done of this object thus far has indicated no gas whatsoever. You can't have explosive outgassing with lots and lots of dust without also having a lot of gas mixed in with that outgassing, and yet we've seen no evidence of that whatsoever. The only way that an object could produce this much dust without outgassing is if it were huge, again, about 20 kilometers in diameter, which once again makes it a very, very unusual object. Something this big should not be encountering our solar system very often. We're talking maybe once every 50,000 years. So either we got very, very lucky, or that's just not the explanation we'd be looking towards. So if it's not a bright dust cloud and it's not an enormous object, then what could possibly be creating this much light? Well, that's where the artificial light explanation comes from. The 3I Atlas might be generating its own light, and for an object of this size, an artificial explanation is about the only one we've got.
Yeah, so peace and blessings, family. Hey, hopefully everybody's doing well. Hey, won't keep you here long. Just wanted to bring this quick update to you, family. And that is, we talked about it before earlier last week, I believe, where we were talking about how, there's this mysterious object that entered into the solar system, of course, and people are tracking it because of its unique properties or unique attributes. One, it's came from it's called an interstellar object, meaning that it came from outside the solar system. And then two, of course, which makes it's the fastest object to date. Three, they're saying at the time last week they were saying that it was the largest object to date. And then a couple of things, family, was that people were saying that, especially in the science, the science community, you did have some people. Some scientists dissenting from the general. I don't want to even say consensus, because it wasn't a consensus, but the story that was out on the streets, on these YouTube streets, was that, hey, this thing's a comet because it has a tail. But when they looked at it in the telescope, it didn't really have a tail. It had a very small protrusion, but unlike comet tails, so comet tails face away from the sun, but this one was facing towards the sun. And then the other thing, fam, is that when they started taking measurements of this object, to see if they could find water, they could not find I forgot the name of the metric, the spectrometer, measurement that they took. But when they took it, they could not find any water in it. So, of course, since then, we've had a couple of different papers to come out, and they've tried to compute water a different way. So the normal way that they would identify water, using this spectrometer, and I may be mispronouncing that, but I'm calling it a spectrometer. It wasn't showing up on there, so they was like, well, you know what, let's compute it a different way. And so they came up with some sort of math and said, okay, well, based off of this what I call back of the napkin math, there should be water on there. And of course, you had the Professor Avi Loeb from Harvard looking at that math and saying, your math is off. That isn't water. There's no water there. So basically, family, there's a debate going back and forth in the science community about whether or not, it contains water, which is indicative of a comet. So all that aside, family, an additional attribute that was so strange about this object was that it was so bright. So given that this object was so far away, family, and if this was a comet, so we know a comet doesn't have headlights, right? A comet doesn't have strobe lights on it, right? So with comets, when they're that far away, usually they're dark. And what they were saying was that, well, this object is 200 times brighter than the comets that we've seen before in the past. Based off of the distance where it is, this thing is 200 times brighter. And they're like, man, in order for a object to be that bright, well, if it's not giving off its own light, then the only other explanation would be that maybe it's huge. Maybe it's like 20 miles wide. But then when they took some more measurements, it was like, no, it's not that big. So then the question still on the table is, why was this object so bright? Because it's supposedly not that big. It's defying all these norms that they know as far as what a comet is and how a comet behaves. So it's breaking all the rules. So this is where it starts to get into that strange territory. And actually, in one of the previous videos, family, when we were talking about the stuff that they're doing over in the state of Israel, one of which was that red heifer sacrifice, and just looking at the timing of it, family, when they did that red heifer sacrifice on July the 1st, this thing all of a sudden pops up on the radar, and it's coming this way. So, and again, you just have it would be one thing, family, if they looked up and they saw a comet coming and it had the long tail, it had the ice, it was small, it was the same brightness and all that other stuff. But the fact that this, and it's red. That's another thing, family. This, whatever this object is that it's red. And, like I was saying, if this thing was checking all the boxes of it being a comet, no one would, give it a second thought. But the fact that this thing is failing the checklist on multiple fronts is causing people to pause. It's causing people to pause, especially, those that are over in the Christian community or, even in the Hebraic community, because when you start to think of things that are read in the scripture, things that are read, in the last days, especially like, Hamashiach, when he comes back, you may not know, but he's dressed in red. And he's supposed to be, he will be enclosed in a cloud. And they were saying that, well, man, this thing has a cloud. This thing is red, So of course, it's not that we're saying that it's Hamashiach, but if it's checking some of those boxes, you may just want to take a look at it, or it could be something else, because we know that, also what folks are throwing out there is that, hey, maybe this thing is the Antichrist. I actually had a clip in here that I took off because of copyright, but in one of my old clips, I read to you about how Satan wants to be like the Most High. He wants to set his throne in the stars of heaven. He wants to be like the Most High, is what the scripture says. So, Antichrist, Satan coming down, who knows? But we are in some interesting, troubling times. And another thing I'll put out to you, family, before we drop off here, and that is, I remember one time, doing a study of the empires. So all the major empires, you think of the major empires that when you in the book of Daniel, and you have the statue of the book of Daniel, and you have the head of gold, which was Babylon, and then you had silver, the Persia, Medo-Persian Empire, and all this other stuff, all the way down to Greece and Rome, right? And the feet mixed with iron and clay, right? Which folks believe that it's a representation of the present day mixture of separated Rome, right? But when you look at that, so in each of those parts of that statue represents an empire, right? And I remember doing a study, family, as to I wanted to know, was there a pattern to the fall of an empire? In other words, when empires fall, family, do they occur in a certain season? And sure enough, as I was going through these various empires, one of the patterns that started to emerge was that these empires have a characteristic of whenever they end, family, they tend to end in the fall time. During the fall feast is when they tend to end. So that's why me personally, whenever we get around to this time of year, I'm always being very aware or very what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just looking to see if there are any signs that an empire could fall this particular season. So of course we know we have the war, the war over in Ukraine. We got the stuff that's going over in Israel. Israel's actually threatening to restart its war with Iran, which are the Medo-Persians in the scriptures, and we know that they play a pivotal role in end times prophecy against Esau. So we know some things are actually coming, are supposed to be due on the on this calendar, on the prophetic calendar that we're looking at. So all that being said, family, just wanted you to be aware of these updates when it comes to this whatever this is that's flying through the solar system. As the YouTube thumbnail said, family, hey, it could be a rock, it could be a comet, or it could be something else. The fact that it's showing up anytime something happens around a feast day, family, I am always on, always looking around to see what's going on. Because remember, when Jerusalem fell, 70 AD, guess what? It wasn't just some random day. When General Titus showed his army on the horizon of Jerusalem right before it got burned down, and they raised the foundation stones in the temple, guess what? That was on Passover. Guess what? Just before Jerusalem fell, there were all sorts of signs in the heaven. And these signs lasted for, I want to say, a couple of years, a few years before the fall of Jerusalem. So it's almost as if the Most High gave signs in the heavens that, hey, Israel, something's bad going to happen. And of course, what do? What did our forefathers do? They just ignored it. They just went about their business. And when they interpreted the signs, they misinterpreted as a omen for good. Like when they saw this, this symbol, in the heavens that looked like a sword that hovered above the city for days, they thought it was a good sign. They were like, oh man, that means we're going to have victory. No, that means that the Most High is lifting his hedge of protection from around Jerusalem, and that the Roman Empire was going to raise Jerusalem to the ground, which is what they did. So I said all that to say, family, so we are, we're in the season of seeing these signs. We've seen many signs over these, what we call the United Snakes. And we know that based off of the signs, and a lot of people will agree, family, that we know that something is afoot and that there's some judgment right around the corner. There's a message to be given. And I guess it's just a matter of is that message received or not. All right, so that's it, family. Like I said, I had to make this quick. I actually have to run a errand or two here. They will also want to let you know that the other little booklet that you see on the screen, Who Are the Biblical Israelites? That booklet is available on Amazon. So for those of you all who do want to support, or if you want to use that tool as a way or means to be able to reach your family and friends, feel free to use it. Like I said, family, the purpose of this little booklet is one of those little booklets that you just hand to people. You know what I mean? Like if you have a family member, and you're like, hey, Do you want to know who the biblical Israelites are? And just hand them the book and walk away. That's all you got to do, family. So I don't want to say you're like the Jehovah's Witness, but it's kind of like that whole ordeal. You just kind of like, somebody's talking about who Israel is or whatnot. You just hand them the book and that's it. It's supposed to be a real good tool, short and to the point. It's not one of those 100, 200, 300 page books. It's just something that you can hand to them. They can stick in their purse or whatever and read on their own time, in their own time, and it'll prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we are the people of the book. All right, so that is it, family. So peace and love and blessings. Hopefully everybody's doing well. We may come back on later tonight to do that follow-up discussion or that video about the policing, the ADL sending our police over to Israel for training, because that is some crazy stuff that literally impacts every single Black or African-American family here in the States. So if you are an African-American, you don't even have to be an Israelite for this one, family, because they've been doing some work against our community, and you need to know about it. But if we don't do it tonight, Most High willing, I'll may push it back to Wednesday, but we'll see. All right, well, peace and blessings, family, and talk to you later, and shalom.
Houston, we have a problem.
The world is searching for the truth. Who are the biblical Israelites? From mysterious comets to whispers of ancient sacrifices, history unfolds amidst chaos. In 700 BC, the Lachish relief immortalized the tribe of Judah, capturing essence in high-definition detail. For centuries, Israel's identity has been hidden, but now the truth can finally be unveiled. Click the link below to get it today. Do you want a short booklet to send to your family and friends to prove you're not crazy? Well, this is it. The undeniable, unforgettable, ancient pictures of Judah for all to see. So, pick up your copy of Who Are the Biblical Israelites today from Amazon and share the truth, one booklet at a time.